everyone. Thank you for joining this podcast. My name is Catherine. I shall be the moderator for this particular podcast. And I shall go around the table right now and have everybody introduce themselves. Tyler, if you might want to do the honors of going right ahead.
Yeah, my name is Tyler McCourt. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Dott. We basically, at Dott, we are creating a product that is made for music festivals. That's perfect for consumers at these music festivals to stay more connected with the music festival, and then also display any kind of graphic they'd like, such as GIFs or NFTs.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Tondreault, co-founder at SCiMon. I focus on the supply side. My background is over 30 years in high-tech manufacturing, design for manufacturability, focusing on really locating leading suppliers, helping them compete and grow, and help buyers match up to the right suppliers. So glad to be here today.
Yeah, Rob Moreland, co-founder SCiMon as well. And I focus on sales and business development for the company. And my background, many years in product design, manufacturing, supply chain. My main focus is really more on the supply chain side of things globally, as well as the sales of the platform.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us again this afternoon. So we're going to get down to the gist of what this podcast is all about. I think it's a really important subject. We talk about supply chain day in, day out. Everyone uses that buzzword, supply chain. What really is supply chain, and really how does that translate to, particularly for Tyler, yourself, and your company? How does a supply chain, or how does issues that arise from the supply chain actually impacts your business and the operations of your business? So if you want to go right ahead and let us know what your company does, and how does this apply to you in terms of what supply chain means to your company?
So we've been working on developing this product for probably 3 years now. It's taken a little bit longer than I expected, a lot because of supply chain issues. Specifically, we were looking to try to get the lowest cost option until we found you guys, right? So in the beginning, I was trying to, go through Alibaba, find a manufacturer that could produce our product. What our product does is what I alluded to earlier. It can play basically any GIF or NFT through Bluetooth. It connects directly to our mobile application, and then it can connect to other devices around it, specifically at music festivals. It can also find lost friends, which is another issue if you're at these bigger events. So finding a hardware manufacturer was brand new for me. And then I tried to go on Alibaba and find a low-cost option to develop a manufacturing prototype. This was much more difficult than I anticipated. I thought, we would give them the schematics, and I'm not the most technical people. I just figured, my tech team could then talk to the manufacturer efficiently and get the product made, correctly according to spec. This was not the case. It was extremely difficult to do. And then, that's why we started working with you guys. It was super simple as soon as we started working with you guys. You guys seemed to be the right partner. And right now we're working on a Kickstarter campaign to raise the funds to get our first, bulk order rolling. So excited to get started.
So you brought up the subject of, the difficulties that you face, and you also brought up a very common name that we hear about in the industry, Alibaba. What was that motivation, or what was the idea behind actually trying to go to Alibaba to look for a partnership, and what sort of difficulties or problems did you come across?
So I have another company, and we do apparel manufacturing, sublimation. So how I found manufacturers with apparel was just going through Alibaba and finding the lowest cost, and then best quality supplier as well, right? And it's much easier to do that for t-shirts. If you just have them ship 10 t-shirts and you like the ones that you like, you'd pick that manufacturer as long as their costs are good. So I figured I could apply that same kind of logic in the hardware space, which was not the case. It was very difficult to find someone reliable, trustworthy, and that could actually, produce the product for us. So
Yeah, that's the big challenge of the day, right? And I feel for Tyler and any companies that are looking for technical sources, because typically they do go to Alibaba and a few others that are very simple, even starting with a Google search. And the main problem is ultimately transparency in suppliers, because we find that a lot of suppliers have a primary capability. It's what they got in business with, what they started with, what their true forte is. And then they add on some supplementary capabilities. And before you know it, if somebody approaches them, they say, sure, I can do that. And then they experiment. But what you want to do is you want to be able to locate exactly the supplier that has the focused capability that you're looking for. If you could somehow vet suppliers to find that aspect, you cut out, and agree with me if you will, Tyler, you cut out a significant portion of the due diligence process.
Yeah, it took a lot of time and money. So yeah, 100% agree.
We know that cutting out the process, streamlining it actually does help in the bottom line. It does impact the bottom line at large and bringing your product to market. Was that what you faced a lot with, Tyler, when you were trying to get proper partnerships to produce your product?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we probably delayed our project, at least 6 months trying to go with the wrong manufacturer and trying to get things sorted. So it delayed going to market. But like I said, now we're in the process of launching a Kickstarter campaign. We're actually in the pre-launch phase, so we're having people sign up on our website right now. So we're really excited for that. We should have that really rolling in the next month or so.
That's great.
And I would assume that just because of, and of course we can talk about that, is that because you're doing a Kickstarter project right now to get funds for your product, there is certain obligations that your company obviously wants to fulfill towards the investors. How does that factor into the decisions that you make about your partnerships?
So we actually don't have investors. It's pretty much all bootstrapped for me. So that's why we're going the Kickstarter path. Obviously there's startup costs, there's minimum order quantities. So to hit those minimum order quantities, we thought Kickstarter would be the best way to do that, to have someone test something. Because obviously I don't want to put, a ton of money down and risk all of my money. I'd much rather have, everybody buy the product up front, which is exactly what Kickstarter is perfect for. I could probably try to launch something like pre-sale on my website, but that's proven not to work as well, which is why companies like Kickstarter exists. So we're excited to test this process with them. And then obviously I'm pretty confident this will be successful based on initial tests that I've done. So once we have the funds to do that, it'll be much easier to start ramping up production.
To that extent, the one point I would like to have this panel discuss about is not only the lead time, but also the security, because you're dealing with, Dott is dealing with a consumer product. And so your designs and your concerns about the intellectual aspects of your product. If you want to expand a little bit about that, Tyler, and then we'll have a discussion on the panel.
Yeah, so I'm still pretty green to all of this, right? Like I've never patented a product. We're looking to maybe do something, but those are expensive and take a ton of time, right? But yeah, of course, someone stealing this or just ripping it off is always a worry. I'm not worried about that right now because it's still a really unproven product and where it will fit in the market. Down the line, if we do see some success, I'm sure there will be copycats, and I'm not sure how we will mitigate that. So I'd love to hear you and learn more from you guys on that.
It is a good concern. What others have done is, if it is a finished product that you are having manufactured in one particular location, then you worry about the entire product being copied in a mechanical sense. Of course, if you have software that goes with the product and you don't provide that software, then you've got a pretty much a moat separating it from being completely copied. But what we would suggest, depending upon the complexity of the product, is that when you do assembly at a particular location, you may want to separate it in 2 locations. So you don't have 100% of the product and the IP exposed to any one location. Now, in your particular case, Tyler, I know it's all one product and all in one location. So how you test, because your product has a printed circuit board, and that printed circuit board is going to go through some bed of nails testing, some circuit testing for performance. What you want to do is have perhaps the firmware and the software not be complete, and then have the firmware and software uploaded in a secondary location or a fulfillment center, that once it leaves the initial manufacturing location, that the next location would fulfill that. That's a way to prevent any kind of copying if there's some significant IP.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I'm definitely open to exploring that more, as we get closer to, wrapping up the Kickstarter campaign and actually placing that first order.
So how do you, with the Kickstarter, how does that work? Do you set kind of obviously like target and then a 2-month window, 3-month window kind of thing? Is that?
So I'm still pretty new to the process and learning about everything. But what I gather from it is we basically do a pre-launch campaign, which is like pre to the pre-launch. Right? So it's you run a 3-month basically meta ads campaign, driving people to a landing page where they can put their email in, give us their credit card information for $1 reservation cost. And then when the Kickstarter launches, you get this exclusive price. So let's say our product was $100. You're going to get it half off if you put down $1 now. That way we can build up this massive email list of people who are actually interested, and we know they're interested enough to give us $1. That's why there's that $1 paywall, because if you just let people put their email addresses in, you'll just get a ton of people and you won't know who's actually interested in it. And then on top of that, during this 3-month period, we build that VIP list, and we build a VIP Facebook group where we can ask, what features should we add? What software features would you want? What hardware features would you want? So we can really fine tune any changes that we need to make before we go to manufacturing. So then we'll launch the Kickstarter campaign, and then that's kind of what you see, with all the other Kickstarter campaigns. But that's how we should be able to hit our goal, and hopefully more so than that.
We hear a lot about, going through and getting products manufactured across oceans, different countries, so on and so forth. And of course, the cost factor. I mean, it looks like we're all in agreement in the supply chain is that, there's that exchange rate issues, that the currency exchange rates. There's also other regulatory types of issues. If you would like to share with us, Tyler, how does that, or what are your experiences in those areas, and what sort of new stuff that you thought you knew but you didn't realize until then?
I haven't had too many issues with exchange rates or wire transfers. As far as shipments go from overseas and tariffs, that was something that's been more new to me. With my other company, I've done more air freight, so we've been able to avoid a lot of tariffs that we would normally get when we do something by boat, right? But at the beginning of the year, we had one of the planes stopped, and we do made to order apparel. We have a vendor in China who wanted to, who was obviously shipping air freight, but we have like a 2-week turnaround from them because we need to get these products over to our final clients pretty quickly. And then the whole plane just got stuck at Atlanta Customs, and we couldn't get any answers from Customs. They just basically held the entire plane, and they said there's other orders on that, but it ended up being like 200 of our orders. So we had 200 customers emailing me every day. So we just had to completely remake all these items, which was a nightmare, but we saved them, 2 months of time, 3 months of time. But yeah, challenges with shipping are never fun. So yeah, I've been doing this all myself. We need like a third-party logistics company to help me out with some of this.
What about translating or transferring information across?
Communication sometimes may be an issue. There's obviously like a little bit of a language barrier, but I try to, basically use whatever platforms work best. I use WeChat, I use Slack if our vendors can use it, email. But yeah, sometimes communication, the language barrier can be an issue with communication.
Every manufacturer, there's a little bit of a learning curve with understanding, on the other side, how well they understand what tools you're using and how they communicate. Some folks, English is not their first language, right? They're just relying on email and translating, Google Translate or Skype or anything like that. So that's part of some of the benefit that our company helps drive is, when you work with us, part of our digital platform is a global vetted network of suppliers that we have pre-vetted. So we've built that initial relationship. We have, the non-disclosures in place already. We know we've done the initial auditing. We know the owners. We have that connection, right? So we kind of built that communication channel and have that initial bit established, right? It kind of helps bridge any gaps in the project communications. So it kind of all plays into, and you touched on all these points that you've experienced in your apparel business as well as this Dott startup for your consumer product. It's about basically risk in supply chain, and it starts up front with like even the design phase, right? You have a product that you have a design in mind. You're trying to communicate that to a supplier, and you in your mind, in your business partner's minds, the product should do this, and then you're working with a partner that they say they can do it. It spans different industries, right? Apparel or technology. Oh yeah, sure, we can do that. But it's really about knowing the vendors that they're just saying they can do it versus they can actually do it. That's kind of where we come in.
There's quite a few hurdles to get through, and the reasons why I think we can conclude that it's a lack of communication, but it's not always that. I'm pretty sure that, and very confident that any supplier wants to really finish the product, ship the product, and get paid. Now, whether it's exactly to your specification or not is subject to an understanding. The beauty of the SCiMon platform is when we start in the quotation process, our method of controlling the quotation and having complete transparency between suppliers, when you see that those quotations coming in and suppliers are feeling through and trying to understand the specifications, it whittled down and eliminates a lot of the unknowns so that you're really comparing apples to apples and the suppliers know exactly what they're manufacturing. When they get started in the program and then you run into areas where there is questions or doubts or possibilities of alternates or substitutes, that's when the communication system on the SCiMon app is really, really important. And the vetted suppliers on the platform focus on making sure that it's clear and documented as to what each of the specification needs to be, so that there's no more questions, no more assumptions, no more guesses. on what that finished product is going to be, so that when it's finally inspected, it's inspected to the full specification and not shipped, and you receiving it wondering if it is even close to your original specification.
And I can imagine that in a consumer product type of a situation like yours, Tyler, you want to keep consistency of your product batch after batch after batch after batch. So that would be that. Were there any instances where you were working with partners that you never met, probably not in person, but more on the platform like Alibaba, Amazon, or whatever?
Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, the first couple of manufacturers we tried to work with on Dott, there was no consistency. They said they would deliver something and we received something else, all the things that we were just talking about, right? Was it a communication issue? I'm sure they really wanted to do it. For the prototyping phase, at least we had to pay a lot up front to get it done. Just the prototypes, and then trying to get those to work was difficult. Even like something that I thought was simple, like, hey, we need USB-C charging cords, right? I don't even know what charging cords they shipped us. I've never seen them in my life. That's what came in like our first small batch. So it was extremely frustrating. So that's why I'm happy that we're working with trusted partners through the SCiMon platform now.
So just to wrap up everything that we discussed this afternoon, I'm just going to throw it over to the floor right now. And Tyler, if you can share with anyone who is watching this and will be watching this, in the perspective of a business owner with a consumer product, what did you know then versus what have you learned since? And, what would be your recommendation when it comes to sourcing for a partner and getting your product to market?
So as I mentioned, I'm not a technical guy. I like to think I am a little bit, but not in this space, right? So like creating a hardware product, writing firmware, that's something I couldn't do. So I went into this completely green, not knowing anything. I feel how many people probably do, right? So I just went on Google. I tried to find partners first to like build the design. And then I went out on Alibaba and tried to find a manufacturer who could manufacture this design. Well, they said they could do it, and they said they were the cheapest. So it was really the cost, but you pay for what you get in that world. So yeah, so we did. So I worked with somebody who made the initial design, which was not good. I spent a ton of money on that. And he did the firmware for it. And then he did, the hardware, obviously. And then we went with this manufacturer, and all of that was pretty much a disaster. And then I found my new co-founders who basically worked for free. I gave them, obviously they're co-founders now, so they have equity. But if I had them up front and then I worked with you guys right away, I would have saved probably like $100,000 and probably like 2 years of fiddling around.
Well, I mean, I'm just honestly just really glad that we can help you, kind of take the product from where it was to a working prototype. Look forward to a successful Kickstarter campaign. And the message is really, hey, we're here to help startups to really get from the idea to the production phase.
I'm glad to hear things are really working out for you, Tyler. It was an interesting project for us to see, and I'm glad it's really turning out. But for me, it's for whether you're a small to medium-sized business or even a large enterprise, QPD, quality, price, and delivery is what's paramount to success. And if any of those fail, then you either end up with longer lead times or total loss, or you lose in the competition. And what we're focusing on here, and my mantra is total transparency, taking out a middleman and focusing on transparency drives competition. And when you get the competition, you will get that QPD, and you will get from EVT, DVT, PVT through that entire process will be streamlined and very quick, and you'll be very, very satisfied. And that's what we're focusing on, and that's what SCiMon app wants to bring to customers like Dott and others.
Digital transformation is everywhere. It's time to digitize your quote process, automate the repetitive tasks, and free up your team to focus on more value-add tasks. Don't let tariffs, travel, and lack of visibility in the global supply chain hold you back any longer.
And what we've done here is we've been able to configure the internal bill of material to easily talk to SCiMon. So basically imagine, you have the engineering team, they want to push this over into the SCiMon app to get their quote. So you would basically just do it as CSV export. This CSV file is straight from Onshape, the 3D modeling software. When you want to upload these parts into SCiMon, you do a CSV upload. Let me upload Excel. So that product from the Onshape, we just loaded the entire design. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say T's and C's. I'm going to pick certain things. I can actually include the URL from Onshape. So say I've got porting project files within the Onshape URL. So then we're going to go ahead and just do this. I'm going to actually select one vendor. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say 5 days. Really, it's really that simple, right? So basically, it's you have a huge project. Keep in mind, this has injection molded parts. This has electronics, things like that. So what's really nice is the system recognizes all those things. So let's see. Okay, so everything's been delivered. This is actually kind of an important one. When I look at it, what I can do is I click up here. This tells me what parts are in this. I'm going to just put on those. Or this, electronics and the PCB. So very, very flexible. I thought that was important to show that. This is actually the supplier response in the platform. And now we have all the pricing. So we have up here, what's important is 2 suppliers, received quotation, 2 were delivered, 2 were seen, 2 participated. That's the status bar. We can look at, this is the quotation from supplier 1. Pricing from supplier 2. There's a side-by-side analysis. Here's a reference number, and this is giving you the comparison between supplier 1 and 2, showing pricing side by side. The green denoting that it was awarded, bid was accepted. So I think that's basically it. The whole thing from Onshape to SCiMon to the supplier, and then quotation back.
Contact us for a demo and discussion on how SCiMon.co can transform your supply chain today. SCiMon, Supply Chain Simple.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I'm sure we'll continue this conversation further.
You bet. Tyler, go ahead and plug your Kickstarter campaign and your website.
The website's where.com. And then the Kickstarter landing page is what we'd prefer you to sign up on. It's just kickstarter.where.com, and Dott has 2 T's in it.
Let's get some big numbers from Kickstarter.
Absolutely. Yep. We're excited.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Tyler.